We could find out later this morning whether anyone will face criminal charges for causing this summer's deadly explosion in Sun Prairie.
And if you have not sent out the family Christmas card or maybe some gifts yet, be prepared for some long lines of procrastinators at the post office later today.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Take the gifts with you at this point. Just take them with you wherever you need to go.
It happens.
I know, because otherwise I wouldn't be getting gifts on time to where they need to be.
Yeah. All three of us,
guys.
yeah.
Good morning, by the way. It is Thursday, December 20th, 5 days until Christmas, and that is why we are talking about an important deadline for the post office today.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it's 5 days away.
I know.
It's here. It's here.
It is here. Also here, a little more rain.
Yeah, it's been kind of tough to get in the holiday spirit this year. It doesn't look like the holidays outside for Wisconsin. We have rain on the radar map this morning, and temperatures are quite mild. I'll be honest, it feels a little bit like spring outside this morning, and it looks like I'm going to need to grab that umbrella before I head outdoors next time. We have some rain moving up from the south. Scattered showers are going to be with us through the day today. You can see up towards Eau Claire, there's a little bit of snow trying to mix in. North and west of Madison, there's a chance that you'll see some snowflakes today. We're not looking at any major accumulations though. Take a look at these temperatures. 40 in Madison and Monroe, still 43 in Janesville, 37 in the Dells, and 36 in Prairie du Chien. Temperatures are expected to hold pretty steady for the next couple of hours, then begin to drop back as we head into the afternoon. Northwesterly winds will kick in, and it's going to be much colder tonight. Here's a look at your traffic maps this morning. Roads are still at least damp here in Madison, if not wet, so keep that in mind. There are a few brake lights showing up on Stoughton Road this morning, but no other major delays to tell you about right now. Looks like you're going at posted speeds heading into Madison.
And we do expect those temperatures to stay above freezing, so we shouldn't have any ice concerns, right?
That's true. I mean, we may see a few snowflakes, but I'm not expecting widespread slippery conditions.
Yeah, well,
Silver
that's
lining.
good. That is good news. All right, thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
6:02 your time now. We start this half hour in Sun Prairie, where we're expecting to learn more about the results of a criminal investigation into the deadly explosion from this summer. The Sun Prairie Police Department is planning to release those results later today. Court documents show a contractor didn't properly mark a natural gas line and instead marked a spot 25 feet away. Construction crews hit that line and caused the deadly explosion that killed Fire Captain Corey Barr, injured another firefighter, and destroyed businesses and homes in the downtown area. Guimos Mexican restaurant had to close for about a month. The owner says they're still trying to get back on their feet. He says he's hoping today's announcement will bring some closure.
After all this time, it's just, you just want to know, what really happened, and that's it, because that's all that you need to know.
The mayor of Sun Prairie says his goal is to create new development in place of the 5 buildings that were destroyed. We're going to bring you the results of that investigation as we hear about them later today on channel3000.com.
We are waiting to hear when a former NICU nurse accused of abusing some of his young patients will be back in court. 43-year-old Christopher Catham faces 19 charges of felony child abuse. Court records show at least 9 babies born at Meriter Hospital while he worked in the newborn intensive care unit were injured from March of 2017 to February of this year. A judge determined yesterday that there is enough evidence to send Catham to trial. He stood silently while his attorneys entered a not guilty plea on his behalf.
We are learning more about the men charged in a shooting at an Eastside nightclub earlier this month. The man originally arrested in that incident, 35-year-old Cole Foster, now faces more charges, including 4 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety and 2 other misdemeanors. The State Journal reports 3 other men are now charged as well. 34-year-old Deshaun Robert from the Chicago area is charged for allegedly stabbing Foster in the head. He's the one Foster shot the night of the incident. Police say Robert also had multiple bags of heroin on him at the time. 2 other men involved in that night are also facing charges.
One of the people in a car that crashed into a utility pole on Madison's north side is still recovering from their injuries this morning. We don't know who that person is or how badly they were hurt, but we do know 24-year-old Kendrick Bridges died at the hospital following that crash. A Dane County deputy tried to pull over the car that Bridges and that other person were in Tuesday night when it sped off, reaching speeds of 100 miles per hour. A few minutes later, the car crashed into the pole at Wheeler and School Roads, knocking out power to nearly 2,000 people in that area. Madison police continue to look into that accident.
For the first time tonight, Dane County supervisors will see what the future Alliant Energy Center could look like. That board is still considering whether to allocate $90 million in taxpayer money for those renovations. The rest of the $300 million would come from private investors. Those final plans include a new exhibition hall and hotel, upgrades to the Coliseum, lots of added green space, and even some apartments. The changes would support an estimated 1,400 new full-time jobs and generate more than $3.4 billion in new spending. Mayor Soglin released a statement this week noting how close that campus is to Lake Monona and urging the county to consider sustainability with that design.
On Capitol Hill this morning, a spending bill that would fund the government through early February is on its way to the House. Now, the Senate passed that legislation late yesterday, which potentially averts a partial shutdown that would happen on midnight Friday into Saturday. It does not provide the $5 billion the president was demanding for a wall at the U.S.-Mexico border, but it does maintain funding for border security and other agencies over the next couple months. The president has not publicly weighed in on that plan. Now, if a shutdown does happen, the post office would still be open, and that is good because this is the agency's busiest week of the year.
Yeah, you can bet there's going to be a rush today because it's the deadline for all first class and priority mail if you want it there for Christmas. Madeline O'Neill got up early today to join us live this morning with more on what you need to know before standing in some long lines today. Good morning, Maddie.
Good morning, Leah, Danica. Yeah, things are starting to wake up here. Many of us wait until last minute to send out our cards before Christmas. That includes me. I think a lot of us here at News 3 were helping photographer Mark send out some of his cards slowly but surely this morning. But with that procrastination, USPS often sees people making easy mistakes because they're in a rush, and that can obviously cause some confusion for workers just trying to make sure your items get to their destination in time for the holidays. So to avoid a shipping glitch, officials say make sure to use a durable box or envelope, double check those addresses, print clearly, and never guess a zip code. One common thing seen at Madison's post office is people reusing boxes without removing old shipping labels.
If you do use a box over again and it has been used and has a shipping label already on it, make sure that that label is covered or removed. Otherwise, that can cause a lot of confusion.
And of course, you want those items to be protected, whether at your place or wherever you're sending them. Officials encourage you to make sure you don't leave delivered mail and packages unattended. And especially if you're traveling over the holidays, just hold your mail at the post office so it doesn't just sit at your mailbox or at the door. Now, again, today is the deadline for first class and priority mail if you want it there by Christmas. You can also send things by express by Saturday if you want it there by Christmas Eve, but of course that will cost a bit more. Leah, Danica.
I know we were just talking, Maddie, that we are both guilty of using those like old, trying to cover up the old labels to make sure that it's sent to the right place, but maybe we shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that either, but smart advice.
Yeah, most
especially this time of year. Yeah.
You do not want it sent back to you at the end. All right, Maddie O'Neill reporting live this morning for us. Thank you, Maddie.
Speaking of Christmas shopping, if the holidays stress you out a little, you're not alone. We are talking to our health expert, Dr. Mandira Mehra from SSN Health, about why heart attacks are most common on Christmas Eve. That's coming up after the break.
Super scary there. Hopefully the rain won't make your morning commute too stressful. Hattie is talking about wet roads to start out your Thursday. She'll tell us how long that rain will stick around when News 3 This Morning returns.
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio. No rain right now, but there is some rain across southern Wisconsin, so keep that umbrella close by. You might need it today. Here's a look at the radar map. Zoomed out a little bit, you can see some rain across southern Wisconsin. Snow starting to mix in the northern part of the state, though, so be aware of that if you are traveling today. The back edge of the rain actually looks pretty close to us in eastern Iowa, but this is a pretty slow-moving system, so we'll deal with the on and off rain showers through most of the day today. Here's a closer look at southern Wisconsin, and again, many areas from Monroe over to Janesville up into Watertown and Johnson Creek waking up wet this morning. Scattered showers have been working their way back into southwestern Wisconsin as well. There is a little bit of fog. It looks kind of foggy here at the station. Visibility at the airport's about 2.5 miles, but it is just 1/4 mile at Monroe. Temperatures aren't really a big concern this morning. We are well above the freezing point in most spots. In fact, 40 still here in Monroe and Madison, 43 in Janesville. Coldest spot is to our north and west as you get back towards La Crosse. Viroqua this morning is at 33. A southerly wind is very light early today, but watch what happens when we put this map into motion. As a cold front passes through the area, our winds shift around to the north and west, and they start to increase later on today. So it is going to be a little breezy through the afternoon, and as you can imagine, that northwesterly wind is not going to be a warm wind at all. Here's a look at your future track forecast model. And again, it is showing you the chance for rain this morning, possibly changing over to some snow to the north and west for a short time this afternoon. Things should start to dry out, though, as we head into this evening. Overnight, just cloudy skies and colder conditions, and kind of a blustery day tomorrow. We'll hold on to the clouds through most of the day, but some clearing is expected through the evening. Temperatures, though, will be a little colder tomorrow. Here's a look at any expected precipitation today from this particular storm system. If you do see any snow, maybe just about 1/10 of an inch of accumulation, that's it. Here's a look at your extended forecast then. Temperatures are going to cool down. Our high's just 32 tomorrow with a pretty strong northerly wind. Temperatures then stay in the low 30s through the weekend. We do have another chance for snow late Monday into Tuesday. Now let's get a check with traffic this morning. Josh Tim has all the details. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, it is foggy out and the roads are wet here in southern Wisconsin. Just make sure you give yourself a few minutes extra when you head out the door. No problem so far on the Beltline, though. Things are moving well in both directions. Other roads here in Dane County not looking too bad. Just a few of the usual slowdowns on Verona Road and Stoughton Road approaching the Beltline. No delays downtown on campus yet. Volume shouldn't be an issue at least for another half hour or so. And other main routes leading into the city they're moving along at the posted speeds with no crashes or issues. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Hattie. So as we approach the start of 2019, a lot of us are probably going to make a commitment again to refocus on our health.
And sometimes prioritizing your health means trusting your gut and asking more questions. That's the message Ellie Feldman wants to share. The 27-year-old Madison realtor has been on a medical odyssey for the past 2 years, trying to find the cause of her fatigue and jaw pain. Over and over again, blood work showed nothing was wrong, but Ellie refused to give up.
When it happened, I never felt like, why did this happen to me? I felt really lucky that I found it, and that I found it when I did. So the narrative in my head this whole time has been, I'm so lucky.
Having this diagnosis come about in younger people who are expected to be healthy, often leads to a lot of confusion.
Tonight at 10, Susan Simon is going to share Ellie's story, the diagnosis she never saw coming, and the important message she wants to share with others.
Looking forward to that. So we're asking our medical experts some questions this morning. I know I am feeling the stress of the holiday to-do list. Leah is as well.
Everyone is. Yeah. There is a new reason to find a way to relax this holiday season, though, as new research shows heart attacks tend to spike on Christmas Eve. Here to talk about that with us is Dr. Mandira Mehra. Thanks for waking up early with us.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, I know that the holiday season is stressful, but heart attacks spiking on Christmas Eve, this was really surprising to me.
And not just by a little bit. We're talking about almost 40%.
Wow.
I mean, the actual number was 37, but almost 40%. And, we talk about all the great things. We see the Hallmark movies. We all have our favorite trees under the present. So we always talk about the good things. But to be honest, this is a time of high stress. This is a time of excessive food, excessive alcohol, and of course family, which can be stress-inducing for some. So what this study looked at was over 200,000 people, and it was published in the BMJ, which is a very reputable journal. It was a Swedish study that looked at cardiac events and people that were admitted. And what they noticed is on certain holidays and certain days throughout the year, these heart attack rates or myocardial infarction rates rose. What is a heart attack? The basic principle is that your heart can't get enough oxygen. There's basically a blockage, and unless that oxygen flow is restored quickly, the heart muscle starts dying off. So of course, calling 911, seeking emergent care is the best thing that you can do. That being said, there's of course things that we should do, of course knowing this study. Reduce stress, which is easier said than done, but not eating in excess, of course limiting your alcohol intake, and any stress that's happening, really trying to deal with that in a healthy, happy way. So we want to, of course, keep people alive, maybe change this study and this dynamic. Of course, on Mondays, heart attacks were also shown to be higher, and Christmas Eve this year is on a Monday.
Wow.
So anything we can do to really reduce that number and reduce the stress is a great idea.
There's another study, Dr. Mara, that parents might be paying a lot of attention to this morning, and that is about high schoolers and vaping. There's a new survey out that says an astronomically growing number of high schoolers are doing this, are using e-cigarettes and Juul products. What should we be concerned about with this, especially because it seems like other drugs are going down?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we take a look at really the smoking epidemic, the nicotine epidemic that we talked about. And over the years, that has come down now. Of course, policymakers increasing prices, things like that. And the irony is not missed. The fact that this was a substance or a tool that was used to help adults wean off and hopefully stop smoking. What's happened now is a lot of these products have different flavors, and the claim is that they were marketed basically to young people. And so this is a forbidden thing, this is a cool thing, it's definitely a trending thing, but over the past 2 years, we've seen an increase that is astronomical. Not only are high schoolers using it, but even middle schoolers are using it. The fear and the danger here is that this is nicotine and this is addictive, so we are dealing with a substance abuse problems. You know, there's just not a forum created for really addiction centers for kids. We have plenty of addiction centers for adults, but if you are a parent and you are noticing this, talking to your child and saying, this is not just flavoring. The problem is a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers aren't even aware of the negative consequences here. They think it's just flavoring, and they get that high, they get that rush off the nicotine, but not maybe realizing the consequences of it. At a young age, our prefrontal cortex is not even developed. And what consequences that nicotine having on really a developing mind.
Yeah.
So anything we can do to stop this epidemic is important, and we don't have great tools. I mean, we have patches, we have gums, we always talk about the adult ways to deal with this, but now we're dealing with a teenage and middle school population, and these are kids that have never smoked before.
Right.
So it's not that population that we're smoking and now we're weaning off. What we're dealing with is a population that's never smoked before, has never been exposed to these things, and is very vulnerable, of course, to teenage pressures. So we really need to, it's a public health crisis, it's a pediatrician crisis, a medical crisis. The problem is that nicotine can also lead to other health consequences down the road. So in that developing mind, are we increasing the mental health crisis, depression, anxiety, all those other things we always talk about. So maybe it's all connected.
Two really interesting studies with some concerning numbers.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Mara, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Great to be here.
6:19 right now. Aaron Rodgers isn't taking a break just because the playoffs are out of the picture this morning. That is the word from the franchise as he heads into the last few weeks. They're trying to get out of a 0-7 rut as they end out the season. We'll hear more about Aaron Rodgers coming up in just a moment.
Speaking of a bit of a slump, it's the kind of morning when you might want to take your time getting out the door today. Hattie has some rain in the forecast throughout the day. Lots of fog to start off your morning as well. She's going to update us on that when News 3 This Morning returns.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Hattie McLean. We've been dry for the last hour or so here in Madison, but it looks like some rain is beginning to move up from the south once again. Plan on a wet start to your Thursday morning. Scattered showers will be in the forecast through the day. Temperatures are warmer, though, than they were yesterday. Take a look at the actual numbers. 36 in Prairie du Chien and Platteville, 37 in the Dells, 40 here in Madison, and even 43 in Janesville. Now, later on today, there is a chance as you come home from school that a few snowflakes may mix in with those rain showers. Little snow accumulation, though, is expected. Temperatures will begin to drop back through the 30s later on this afternoon. And for tomorrow, plan on a breezy and chilly day with highs only in the low 30s. Dry weather is expected through the weekend. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you so much, Hattie. The Packers might not have a lot to play for in their last 2 games of the year, leading some people to speculate whether Aaron Rodgers could sit out for the rest of the year and recover from his injuries. But that's not an option, according to the franchise himself.
You know, if I want to, be listened to and followed and looked up to, how could I stand here and say that, these games that don't matter for playoffs, I'm going to cash it in. It's just not the way I lead, and I'm super competitive, and I want to be out there with the guys.
Rodgers has been dealing with a sprained knee all year and reportedly also hurt his groin last week against the Bears. But he says the team still has plenty of reason to give it their all in the final 2 games, even if they won't be going to the playoffs. One of his goals, getting the team's first win away from Lambeau this year. They're 0-7 on the road and have never gone 0-8 since the NFL switched to a 16-game schedule 40 years ago.
Yikes. All right, we are on Miami in the Pinstripe Bowl, a rematch of last year's Orange Bowl. Meanwhile, we want to look ahead to next season after Wisconsin signed 19 recruits yesterday during National Signing Day. That includes one of the best offensive linemen in the country, Logan Brown, who already stands, get this, 6'6", 288 pounds as a high schooler. Holy smokes. The Badgers also signed one of the best quarterback prospects in the country. That would be Graham Mertz. He threw 51 touchdown passes this season alone for his high school in Kansas. And then Janesville Parker defensive tackle Keanu Benton also committed to the Badgers. Experts say overall this could be the best recruiting class Coach Paul Chryst has ever put together.
Exciting stuff for the Badgers. All right, I still have about a half dozen things to get in the mail, and if you're with me, which I think Danica is, the deadline to get them out in time for the holidays is here. Maddie O'Neill's in this morning to break down the timeline.
And if you have a student at La Follette High School, you're going to want to hear this one. There are some changes coming to the class schedule next year that could impact the entire school year. That story's still ahead when News 3 This Morning returns.
With just a few days until Christmas, you're running out of time to get your mail and packages out. What you should know if heading to the post office is on your agenda today.
This is News 3 This Morning.
All right, good morning and welcome to the final half hour of News 3 This Morning. It is 6:29 on this Thursday, December 20th. We have Maddie in this morning for us, and I'm glad she's inside because not only did we make her wake up early, but it's just kind of a foggy, blah day out there so far.
I know. We stuck Hattie outside, though. Sorry, Hads. You're used to it by now, right? How's it feeling?
That's okay. No problem being outside. It's actually quite warm, so glass half full this morning, right? I am standing under an umbrella, though, and it's almost the end of December. Kind of hard to believe, but we have some rain in the forecast today. You can trade in the sunglasses for the umbrella today. Here's a look at your weather tracks, satellite and radar combined across the upper Midwest. You can see some rain moving through southern Wisconsin, a little bit of snow mixing into the north, but the back edge of the precipitation working its way through Minnesota and eastern Iowa. This is a pretty slow-moving storm system, though, some heavier rain to our south, but we'll deal with on and off rain showers through the day today, possibly mixing with a little bit of snow later on this afternoon, mainly to the north and west. But it is going to be a wet start this morning for many in the area, so plan ahead. Luckily, temperatures, though, are quite mild. We're actually at 40 still here in Madison, 40 in Monroe, and 43 in Janesville. Those are the warm spots on the map. All around temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. I would expect temperatures to hold steady through the morning hours with a light southerly wind, but as that wind shifts to the northwest, mercury will begin to drop this afternoon. That's when we could see a few snowflakes mix in. Little to no snow accumulation, though, is expected. Let's take a look at those first alert traffic maps this morning. We're not seeing any major issues in the area, although keep in mind that the roads are wet this morning. Here's a look at your drive times and speeds in from some of the major routes around the city. Looks like you're still going at posted speeds. Not adding any extra minutes to your commute just yet. And that's your first alert traffic.
All right, thanks so much, Hattie. If you have been procrastinating at sending off that mail or package for Christmas, today marks an important deadline.
Madeline O'Neill joins us this morning. We sent her out to beat the crowds at the post office, at least we're hoping, and to remind us all what's due today in order to get to the destinations on time. Hi, Maddie.
Hi, Danica and Leah. Yeah, people have actually been through here already this morning. That's because it's the last day to send out first class or priority mail if you want it there by Christmas. Luckily, we're in the perfect spot for our photographer today, Mark, to send his cards out, so we're doing that. The U.S. Postal Service is working 24/7. This morning to make sure the items are getting where they're going. The Postal Service expects by the end of the holiday season to have processed more than 16.2 million pounds of mail. This is the busiest week of the year when it comes to mailing, shipping, and delivery. Today, of course, is expected to be extra busy because it's an important deadline, so officials encourage you to not put it off until closing time.
After work, people will be coming and dropping off their stuff, trying to, get those last-minute packages in the mail.
USPS officials say it's important when you're sending off these items, don't miss any steps. They often see people in such a rush that mistakes are made. The mail or packages don't make it in time, and the items are actually returned to the sender. Of course, nobody wants that this time of year. And now, if you can't get your mail out today, that's okay. You can still send it express by Saturday. It will cost a little bit more, but it will get there by Christmas Eve. Leah, Danica.
Yeah, I like to avoid that at all costs. Not only the crowds, Maddie, this weekend, I can't imagine what they're going to be like, but the extra price it's already expensive enough.
Yeah.
I imagine it'll get a little crazy later.
I imagine so, too. All right, Maddie O'Neill reporting live from the west side of Madison here. Thanks, Maddie.
6:33 your time now. A case of road rage could have ended very differently for a dad and his son after they confronted someone for cutting them off. The two were riding their bikes in the Atwood neighborhood here in Madison around 5:30 Wednesday night when a driver didn't stop for them. The dad followed the car to a nearby parking lot and knocked on the window. That man pulled a gun out of his console, put it on his dashboard, and then backed into a parked car before leaving the area. That suspect came back once the cyclist called police and was cited for disorderly conduct while armed.
Janesville School Board is looking at paying its members. The Janesville Gazette reports the board voted earlier this week to study whether a small stipend would help encourage more people to run and eventually diversify the board. Janesville is one of only 19 of the state's 421 school districts that does not compensate board members.
Some changes are coming for La Follette High School students in the 2019-2020 academic year. Currently, the school runs on a block schedule, but next year they'll be moving to a 7-period day. That change was approved by the La Follette High School administrative team, as well as the MIT Teachers Union. One administrator says the change will give students access to coursework throughout the entire year, but not all students are on board.
On our current schedule, students finish a course at the semester. And so sometimes that interferes with testing, that interferes with access to rigorous coursework throughout the year. And so this gives our kids the opportunity to work through classes an entire year.
Having the classes every other day with my schedule, it works perfect. Just switching to that every day with each teacher is going to be confusing to most students.
So the 7-period schedule will also add 900 more minutes to the school year.
Some of your kids and their classmates are getting support from the Madison School District and its staff members, all thanks to some sweet holiday decor. Every year, the Human Resources Department decks out cubicles and hands out awards for the ugliest sweaters. Then those employees thought to start a fundraiser to help students pay off outstanding lunch balances. One of them posted about it on Facebook, and so far that effort has helped raise thousands of dollars. So if you want to help out too, you can send a cash or check to the school district. We also have a link up to the Facebook page on channel3000.com. 6:35 right now. North Korea has a new message for the U.S. this morning. Give up your nuclear weapons and we'll give up ours. We'll have that update in the morning sprint.
And here's a way to get into the holiday spirit today. We're talking about people helping random people with a small act of kindness over in Sauk County. We'll tell you how you can help. Still ahead on News 3 this morning.
Welcome back. We always ask you to share your morning with us, and Julie posted this awesome winter shot over in Broadhead. Let's take a look this morning. I think we have it up. It's frost sprinkled, she says, morning, and it's magic in Greene County. Just a beautiful, beautiful shot, and one that we probably won't see for a bit here.
Yeah, Julie, we really needed this to get us into the holiday spirit, because certainly the rain outside's not doing that for us.
Yeah, definitely not. Thanks for sharing.
What does your morning look like? Take a picture, post it on Facebook or on Twitter, and use the hashtag MyNews3Morning. Danica and I share our favorites right here on the program.
So lots of us get the urge to give this time of year, but there's an effort in Sauk County that's taking that to a whole nother level. 50 of these acts of kindness cards are circulating right now throughout that community. If you get one, that means someone has done a random act of kindness for you, and the hope is you pay it forward by doing something nice for someone else.
Be shoveling someone's sidewalk. It could be vacuuming a loved one's car. It could be baking cookies for a neighbor. Again, it doesn't have to cost anyone a dime, but it sure feels good when I see this thing happening throughout our town.
Tracy Thompson says she's already seen random acts in her town, like someone paying for someone else's gas, meals, event tickets, and so forth. She says she hopes the cards continue to circulate for months.
Another great way to get into the holiday spirit.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
All right, 6:40 your time now. We are not talking about a beautiful day in the neighborhood for your Thursday. Wet and rainy and windy and cold and generally a bit of a downer of a day ahead. Addie's got another look at your forecast and a little bit of fog this morning when we return.
Nap and weather, Leah, nap and weather.
Yes.
First, though, if you have a kiddo turning 3 soon, please let us know so we can show their picture on TV and celebrate with them. Thanks for watching News 3 this morning. As far as we know, this is the west side of Madison. Looking really foggy and dreary out there this morning. Kind of makes me want to go back to bed. We can only wish, right? We got a little bit longer here yet in the show. Hattie's going to have a look at the forecast coming up in just a moment here. However, I'm a big fan of cranberry scented things, tasting things, you name it this time of year. And if you're with me on that, then you might want to head over to Capitol Brewing later today. It is putting the Wisconsin fruit into a beer. That new cranberry wheat ale will be released later on today. It's made from cranberries right here in the state. It'll officially be tapped at a cranberry bash this afternoon at the brewery in Middleton. It's a perfect excuse to check out the Kegsmas tree that's built in the beer garden there as well. You're seeing pictures of that right now. The festivities get started around 4 this afternoon.
Now, Hattie, if I wasn't napping today, maybe I'd head over there. Bit of a rainy day to do so, though, huh?
News 3 this morning, field trip, Christmas party, whatever.
Oh, see, I thought you meant a nap, Hads.
Yeah. You can nap before 4 and then wake up for that. Here's a look at the radar map, though. It is kind of hard to get motivated this morning when you look outside and see that it's raining. We have scattered showers across all of southern Wisconsin. Now, right now for our area, it's all liquid, all in the form of rain. There is some snow, though, starting to mix into the north and west as you head back towards Minneapolis and Superior, as well as Eau Claire. So be aware of that if you are traveling today. The back edge of the precipitation, actually not that far away from us, but this is a pretty slow-moving storm, so I've kept the rain chances in the forecast through most of the day. Now, our mild temperatures over the last couple of days are really eating away at the snowpack here across the Badger State. You can see no snow for southern and eastern Wisconsin, even just the heaviest snowpack in the Northwoods at only a couple of inches right now. So not looking good for winter sports. Here's a look at that extended forecast model that will start it today. This is the GFS Future Track Forecast model showing you the potential for a few snowflakes to the north and west. Little to no snow accumulation, though, through the day today. Dry weather, northerly winds, and colder conditions setting up for Friday and the upcoming weekend. All indications are that things are going to stay pretty quiet across southern Wisconsin both Saturday and Sunday. Now, as we get into Christmas Eve Monday, especially Monday night, some light snow is possible across southern Wisconsin. We'll see how those forecast models treat that particular system over the next couple of days. Looks like it'll move out during the day on Christmas Day, but there is a potential for a little bit of snow. Here's the GFS snow potential with that system, indicating maybe around an inch of snow for Christmas morning. The European forecast model, though, not quite as excited about this system. It's not forecasting any snow for the southern part of the state. So again, several days off. We'll continue to watch that particular system. This morning, temperatures are in the 30s and 40s across the Badger State. Quite mild here in southern Wisconsin, especially Madison. Points to the south and east that are still in the 40s this morning. Your Pinpoint City forecast calls for steady temperatures this morning, then we'll start to drop back this afternoon through the 30s. Mostly cloudy skies, showers, maybe a few snowflakes, especially to the north and west towards Richland Center. Also, Mauston, you may see some snowflakes later on today. Any accumulation, though, is going to be pretty minimal. Here's a look at your extended forecast then. We have temperatures that will continue to cool down. We're looking at highs only in the low 30s tomorrow. A north wind is going to make it feel kind of blustery tomorrow, so be aware of that. Pretty quiet, though, through the upcoming weekends. Well, I skipped too far, but we get this one. We didn't get that 10-day. Santa Charlie. Do you think he likes wearing that costume?
No, most definitely not. But boy, oh boy, does that make for
It's
a
worth
funny picture.
Absolutely worth
Christmas card photo right there.
it. You better believe it. Thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
That is just the best. Holy smokes. All right, Morning Sprint's coming up next right here on News 3. Just about 6:51, time now for the morning sprint. Hattie says temperatures are actually going to fall through the day as rain and maybe some snow moves through the area.
And Madeline O'Neill is talking about some important deadlines today if you're headed to the post office to mail your holiday gifts and cards. But we start in Sun Prairie. That's where we're going to learn more about the results of a criminal investigation into the deadly explosion from this summer. The Sun Prairie Police Department is planning to release those results later today. Court documents say construction crews hit an improperly marked line and caused the explosion that killed Fire Captain Corey Barr, injured another firefighter, and destroyed businesses and homes.
There are more charges and more suspects connected to the shooting at an Eastside nightclub earlier this month. The man originally arrested in that incident, 35-year-old Cole Foster, now faces additional charges, including 4 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety and 2 misdemeanors. The State Journal reports this morning 3 other men now face charges as well, including the one who allegedly stabbed Foster.
The former NICU nurse accused of abusing newborns at Meriter Hospital will head to trial. 43-year-old Christopher Catham faces 19 charges of felony child abuse. Court records show at least 9 babies born at Meriter, where he worked in the newborn intensive care unit, were injured from 2017 to February of this year. He stood silent yesterday while his attorneys entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. A date for his next court appearance hasn't been set yet.
We still don't know how badly a person was hurt when a car crashed into a utility pole on Madison's north side, but we now know it was 24-year-old Kendrick Bridges who died at the hospital following that crash. A Dane County deputy tried to pull that car over Tuesday night. It sped off, reaching speeds of 100 miles an hour, and then crashed into the pole at Wheeler and School Roads. That knocked out power for nearly 2,000 people.
A case of road rage could have ended very differently for a dad and his son after they confronted someone for cutting them off. The two were riding their bikes in the Atwood neighborhood around 5:30 Wednesday night when a driver didn't stop for them. The dad followed the car to a nearby parking lot and knocked on the window. That man pulled a gun out of his console, put it on his dashboard before backing into a parked car and leaving the area. That suspect did come back when cyclists called police and was cited for disorderly conduct while armed.
And it is rain in the forecast this morning. Take a look at the radar map. We have scattered showers across all of southern Wisconsin. Roads are wet early this morning. Temperatures, though, are well above the freezing point right now. We will see those numbers drop this afternoon thanks to a stronger northwesterly wind. Some snowflakes may mix with the rain, but little to no snow accumulation is expected.
Thank you so much, Hattie. New this morning, Russian President Vladimir Putin is warning about the rising threat of nuclear war. Putin made those comments overnight during his annual news conference, saying if the U.S. pulls out of a Reagan-era treaty and puts intermediate-range missiles in Europe, he'll be forced to take countermeasures against the United States. Putin also warned that if the U.S. starts using ballistic missiles with conventional bombs, it could be mistaken for a nuclear missile and lead to a global crisis.
New overnight, North Korea says it will never give up its nuclear weapons unless the U.S. denuclearizes first. Currently, the two countries are in a deadlock in those negotiations. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and President Trump met face-to-face over the summer and came to a vague goal of complete denuclearization for that country. But there were never real specifics on when and how that could happen. Follow-up talks have since stalled as North Korea insists the U.S. lift economic sanctions before denuclearization can move forward.
The president's defending his decision to pull troops out of Syria on Twitter this morning. He announced his intentions to pull all 2,000 American soldiers out of that country within 30 days, saying the U.S.-led forces there have successfully defeated ISIS. A U.S.-backed military group, however, in that country is rejecting the president's claim that the terror group has been defeated there, saying ISIS would return to that area if soldiers leave.
Meanwhile, President Trump's planning on signing a massive $900 billion farm bill into law later today. That will provide subsidies to farmers who've been affected by low commodity prices. It also legalizes industrial hemp farming nationwide and includes changes to crop insurance and food stamps.
President's also talking about the border wall between the U.S. and Mexico on Twitter this morning. A spending bill that would fund the government through early February is on its way to the House today. The Senate passed that legislation late yesterday, which potentially averts a partial shutdown that would happen midnight Friday into Saturday. It does not include the $5 billion the president has been demanding for that wall on the border. The president, again, just chiming in on Twitter about that plan.
Today is a big deadline here at the post office if you're still sending out those letters and packages. That's because if you want them there in time for Christmas, it's the last day to send out priority mail and first-class mail. The U.S. Postal Service is working 24/7 to make sure your items get where they're going. If you can't get your items in the mail by the end of today, you still have the Priority Mail Express option, but you have to have it in the mail by Saturday. Of course, that will cost you a little bit more. USPS officials say it's also important to be extra careful when you're shipping. They often see people in such a rush that they make easy mistakes and items have to be returned to the sender.
Thank you, Maddie. Governor-elect Tony Evers is defending his first cabinet picks this morning after Republican leaders in the legislature criticized where they're from. Evers' first 4 cabinet members are all from Milwaukee. They'll take positions in the Department of Administration, the DNR, Department of Corrections, and Tourism. Speaker Robin Vos said he's disappointed all the appointees come from Milwaukee instead of from across the state. Evers says his other cabinet picks coming in the next week will reflect more geographic diversity.
Dane County supervisors will get their first official look at plans for the future Alliant Energy Center campus today. They still haven't budgeted the $90 million taxpayer dollars needed for those renovations. The rest of the $300 million for the project would come from private investors. The design includes a new exhibition hall and hotel, upgrades to the Coliseum, and lots of additional green space. Those changes would support an estimated 1,400 new full-time jobs and billions in new spending.
6:57 now. Let's turn over to Josh Tim with a look at your traffic. Hey there, Josh.
Yeah, the Beltline already beginning to slow down on the westbound side between Stoughton Road and Park Street. Wet roads and fog probably not helping that situation. The usual slowdown starting to show up on inbound John Nolan at Rimrock and Nolan Avenue heading into the downtown area. And other main routes leading into the city, they're moving along at the usual speeds right now with no major crashes or delays. With your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh.
And Josh is right. It is a little wet outside. Here's our view from the Edgewater Skycam. Tough to see much this morning with clouds and fog, as well as some rain. Keep in mind, the rain showers will continue on and off today. Temperatures will drop this afternoon.
All right, have a great one. We will see you back here tomorrow. Until then, tune in.